What if the smartest roof you could put on a tiny home has only one slope and zero complexity? No ridges, no valleys, no complicated framing, just one clean, angled surface, and builders all over the country are choosing it over everything else right now. That roof is called a Skillion roof, and in 2026, it's becoming the go-to choice for tiny home builders who want to save money, maximize interior space, and set up their home for solar, all in one smart design decision. I'm going to break down exactly why Skillion roofs are taking over tiny house builds, the real numbers, the real trade-offs, and whether it's the right move for your build. Stay with me all the way through, because I saved the most important detail for the end, and it could save you thousands of dollars. Before we go any further, if you're planning a tiny home build or just getting started with research, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I drop honest, no hype content every week on tiny homes, affordable building methods, and real cost breakdowns. Now let's get into it. A Skillion roof, also called a shed roof, lean-to roof, or monopitch roof, is exactly what it sounds like. One flat surface, one slope, no peak, no ridge, no valleys where water can pool and rot your wood. The slope goes from one high wall to one low wall, and the angle can range anywhere from a gentle 3 in 12 pitch all the way to a dramatic 9 in 12 pitch. That means you've got real flexibility in how the finished home looks from the outside. You've probably seen these roofs on modern sheds and garages for decades. But here's what's changed. Tiny home builders realize that Skillion roofs aren't just functional. They're architecturally sharp. They unlock interior design options that traditional gable roofs don't, and they genuinely cost less to build. That combination is hard to argue with. And this isn't a niche trend. As of 2025 and into 2026, demand for Skillion roof house plans has surged, particularly in the tiny and compact home market, where every dollar and every square foot matters. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the Skillion roof really proves itself. A standard Skillion roof on a tiny home can run between $6,000 and $10,000 fully installed, depending on your materials, your local labor rates, and the size of your footprint. Compare that to a gable roof or a hip roof on a similar structure. You're typically looking at 10 to 20% more for the added complexity. The National Association of Home Builders has noted that simplified rooflines can cut construction labor by 10 to 15%. And the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development has pointed to project savings averaging 12 to 15% for simplified roof designs like the Skillion compared to multi-gabled alternatives. With labor rates hitting new highs in 2026, the construction industry is short over 340,000 workers this year. Those hours saved are more valuable than ever. Less time on the roof equals less labor cost. That math hits harder in 2026 than it has in years. Why the savings? Simple. Fewer parts. A Skillion roof has no ridge board, no hip rafters, no complicated intersecting angles. It's a series of parallel rafters running from the high wall to the low wall. If you're an experienced DIYer, this is one of the most approachable roof structures you can frame yourself. And that's a real option on a tiny home scale. There's also a maintenance angle here, because there are no valleys, those V-shaped channels where two roof slopes meet. There are no natural debris traps. Valleys are where leaves pile up, water pools, and leaks start. A Skillion roof has none of that. Less maintenance over time means less money out of pocket over the life of the structure. Now here's where I keep it real with you. Not every Skillion roof is cheap. If you choose a wide span, say, over 20 feet of clear span, you start needing engineered lumber like LVL beams or glulam beams, and that can add meaningful cost. So yes, it's simpler by design, but your span and your material choices still drive the final number. Plan that carefully. Here's one of my favorite things about Skillion roofs: what they do for the inside of a tiny home. Because one wall is taller than the other, you get a vaulted ceiling on the high side. In a 400 or 500 square foot tiny home, that ceiling height is massive. It's the difference between walking in and feeling like you're in a box versus walking in and feeling like the space actually breathes. One design approach that works really well: put your private spaces, bathroom, storage, closets, under the low eave side. Then put your living area, your kitchen, and your main windows on the high side. That high wall becomes a canvas for large windows or clear-story windows that flood the interior with natural light. It's practical and it's beautiful. A real-world example. Imagine a 600-square-foot Skillion roof home with a 13-foot ceiling on the high side, floor-to-ceiling windows pulling in garden views, and a sliding barn door that reveals a sleeping loft tucked neatly under the roof peak. That's the kind of layout that punches way above its square footage. And it's a layout the Skillion roof makes natural. Built-in cabinetry and tall bookshelves along the high wall also become natural additions. You're using vertical space that a low, flat ceiling would waste. Experts focused on small-lot urban builds in cities like Portland, Austin, and Seattle frequently cite Skillion designs for exactly this reason: maximum livability within a tight footprint. Drainage. It's not glamorous, but get it wrong and you're paying for roof repairs before your tiny home is even fully furnished. A Skillion roof's steeper slope means water moves off the surface fast. No pooling. No sitting water working its way under your roofing material over time. That's better than flat roofs by a wide margin. And it's competitive with a well-built gable roof. If you're in a rainy climate, the Pacific Northwest, the Southeast, anywhere that gets serious seasonal rainfall, this drainage advantage is not a small thing. Faster water runoff means longer roof life. Longer roof life means lower lifetime cost. In snowy climates, a higher-pitched Skillion roof also performs well because snow slides off rather than loading up. The IRC, the International Residential Code, has rafter span tables in Section 802 specifically designed to help builders size their rafters for combined snow and dead load. So there's clear engineering guidance here. What about wind? Here's an honest trade-off. Skillion roofs are more vulnerable to high winds than hip roofs, which deflect wind from all four sides. If you're building in a hurricane zone or an area with frequent severe storms, a Skillion roof requires extra attention to your fastening schedule and structural tie-downs. After the storm events of 2025, builders in 2026 are increasingly using hurricane ties and continuous load path strapping even in non-coastal areas, not just hurricane zones. And one pro-level detail worth knowing: structural screws outperform nails for shear resistance. Swapping nails for structural screws in your rafter connections is a low-cost upgrade that meaningfully improves your roof's wind performance. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a real consideration that I don't want to gloss over. Alright, this is where the Skillion roof really earns its place in 2026. Solar compatibility. Because a Skillion roof is one continuous, uninterrupted slope, it's essentially a ready-made solar panel platform. No complex penetrations through multiple roof angles. No awkward framing around ridges. You orient the high side of your roof toward the south, set your pitch to maximize your latitude's solar angle, and you have an ideal surface for panels. For tiny homes, specifically, roof space is limited, so panel efficiency matters. In 2026, N-type monocrystalline panels have become the new standard. They push efficiency rates up to 22 to 24%, which is a meaningful jump over older monocrystalline panels, and they perform better in high-temperature conditions. When your roof square footage is at a premium, those extra efficiency points translate directly into more power from a smaller surface area. On the cost side, a small off-grid solar setup for a tiny home can run $3,000 to $8,000 depending on system size and battery storage. Larger residential systems average around $2.50 to $3.50 per watt in 2026 before incentives. Here's something you absolutely need to know before you budget for solar. The federal 30% residential solar tax credit expired on December 31st, 2025. New customer-owned residential solar installations in 2026 are no longer eligible for that federal credit. I know, that's a big number to lose. But here's the real shift you need to understand. 2026 is the year of the battery. Without the federal rebate, your solar ROI now depends on two things: net billing, the value of energy you send back to the grid, and battery storage. Many states, including California under NEM 3.0, have already moved to models that pay you less for grid exports and reward you more for storing your own power. That means pairing your Skillion roof solar setup with a quality battery bank is no longer just a nice-to-have. In 2026, it's the smart play. You generate power, you store it, you use it yourself, and you're protected from rising utility rates regardless of what the grid pays for exports. State and local incentives still exist and vary significantly by location, so check your state's programs before you finalize your budget. But the fundamental value of solar in 2026 is energy independence and long-term cost control, not the tax credit. Plan around that reality. Even without the federal credit, solar on a south-facing Skillion roof remains one of the most practical upgrades for a tiny home. And the Skillion design makes that integration cleaner and simpler than almost any other roof style. One thing I want to clear up, Skillion roofs are not one-look-fits-all. There's more design range here than most people realize. The standard single-slope Skillion is the most common and the most cost-effective. But there's also the split Skillion, two sections at different heights, sometimes sloping in opposite directions. That creates a dramatic, modern exterior that looks nothing like a shed. It's more complex to build, but on a tiny home, the framing is still manageable. For materials, your most common choices are metal roofing, standing seam or corrugated, asphalt shingles, or specialty materials like color bond or zinc alum if you're going for an industrial modern aesthetic. Metal roofing is the popular pick for Skillion roofs on tiny homes because it's lightweight, durable, and drains water fast. At slopes below 3 and 12, though, standard through-screwed steel panels may void their warranties, so you'd move to concealed fastener panels or heavier gauge material at lower pitches. Skylights and clear-story windows integrate beautifully on a Skillion roof. Long, flatter pitches give you plenty of real estate for a skylight run that turns your ceiling into a light feature. Steeper pitches create more dramatic exterior geometry. Both work. And don't forget the outdoor connection. A wide overhang on the low eave side creates a covered outdoor space, a shaded patio or deck that flows naturally from the interior. On a tiny home where outdoor living is often part of the lifestyle, that overhang is functional architecture, not just decoration. I always give you the straight story. So let's talk about what Skillion roofs don't do well, because no roof type is perfect for every situation. Attic space. A Skillion roof gives you very little of it. If you're counting on a vented attic for storage or insulation buffer, this design doesn't provide that the way a gable roof does. You'll need to plan your insulation strategy carefully. The traditional approach is spray foam or rigid insulation installed directly against the roof deck. But in 2026, many tiny home builders are stepping up to SIPs, structural insulated panels, for their Skillion roofs. A SIP panel does double duty. It's your structure and your insulation in one. You can hit R49 or higher without the thick rafter cavity you'd need with traditional insulation methods, and the build is faster. It costs more upfront, but for a Skillion tiny home where roof insulation is a critical thermal envelope, SIPs are worth a hard look. High-performance insulation, ventilated eaves, and low-E windows are the full combo that keeps Skillion homes comfortable year-round. Wind resistance. As I mentioned earlier, in high wind or hurricane-prone areas, this is a real structural consideration. Get a local engineer's input on your fastening schedule if you're in a wind-sensitive zone. Wide spans. Beyond the span capacity of standard dimensional lumber, you're into engineered beams, and the cost starts climbing. This is manageable, but it's a planning factor. And finally, building codes and HOA restrictions. Some jurisdictions or communities have rules about roof styles or pitch minimums. Check local codes before you fall in love with a design. The good news is that Skillion roofs are recognized and codified under the IRC, so you're not building something that code officials have never seen. So let's bring this home. When does a Skillion roof make the most sense? It's an excellent choice if you're building on a tight budget and need to control framing costs. It's the right call if you want vaulted ceilings and maximum natural light inside a small footprint. It's ideal if solar is part of your long-term plan. And it works beautifully if you want a modern aesthetic that looks intentional and architectural rather than just practical. It requires more planning if you're in a high wind zone, if you have a wide span, or if you need significant attic storage. Those aren't reasons to rule it out. They're reasons to plan carefully before you build. In 2026, the Skillion roof sits at a sweet spot where design, cost, functionality, and sustainability all point in the same direction. That's why builders keep choosing it. And that's why I think it's worth serious consideration for any tiny home project. Alright, that's the full breakdown. Skillion roofs are simple, they're smart, and when you match them with the right build and the right site, they genuinely outperform more complicated designs at a lower cost. That's the kind of math I like. If this video helped you think through your build, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people trying to build smart. And if you've got questions about Skillion roofs or your specific build situation, drop them in the comments. I read, everyone to build honest. Build smart. I'll see you in the next one.